Okay, so we're diving into UK tax today.
All right.
And, well, HMRC raids.
Really?
Yeah, they've been targeting R&D firms recently, which I gotta say is a pretty surprising turn of events, wouldn't you say?
It is unusual, yeah.
Yeah,
We'll certainly be digging into that,
definitely.
for sure.
And it's not just about those raids either, right?
Right.
We've got potential capital gains tax changes on the horizon,
Okay.
the whole e-invoicing revolution that seems to be about to hit,
Mm.
and then there's the VAT debate on private school fees, which never seems to go away.
Always a hot topic.
Always a hot topic.
Yeah.
And you sent over a really interesting mix of articles from Business and Accountancy Daily, so it seems like we've got a lot to unpack.
Absolutely.
And they all kind of point to this, like, rapidly changing tax landscape, right?
Yeah, definitely. A lot of moving parts at the moment.
So let's, I guess let's break it all down.
Sounds good.
What do you think?
Yeah, let's unpack what these developments mean for you as a taxpayer.
Okay.
And highlight the key takeaways from your research.
Perfect.
All right.
Now, those HMRC raids, I have to admit, that was the headline that really caught my eye.
Right.
What's going on here? Why are R&D firms suddenly public enemy number one?
Well, I think HMRC is sending a pretty clear message with this crackdown.
Okay.
They're focusing on what they perceive as fraudulent activity,
Okay.
even in areas like R&D tax relief, which historically have been, let's say, open to interpretation.
So it's not even just about collecting the taxes, it's about making an example out of these firms.
It certainly seems that way, yeah.
Yeah.
Both firms under investigation. Green Jellyfish and Kirby and Haslam.
Okay.
They deny any wrongdoing, obviously.
Right.
And they're cooperating with the investigation.
Sure.
But, the scale of the operation and the really strong language used by HMRC are hard to ignore, to be honest.
That's quite a statement.
Yeah.
This feels like essential information for, like, any business that's involved in R&D.
Yeah.
Would you say this signals, like, a stricter approach from HMRC in general?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
Businesses need to be extra cautious and just make sure that their R&D tax relief claims are, airtight.
Airtight.
Yeah. This isn't the time to be ambiguous or pushing the boundaries of interpretation.
A real wake-up call.
Yep.
Now, shifting gears to something that's been creating a lot of buzz.
Okay.
Capital gains tax.
Right.
We saw that the tax rate was cut back in April.
Yeah.
But then HMRC's data shows that CGT receipts nearly doubled afterwards.
Interesting.
Which doesn't quite add up, does it?
It is a bit counterintuitive. You'd think people would hold off on selling assets
Exactly.
if they thought it was going to drop further.
That's what I would think, yeah.
Yeah.
So why the rush to sell? Are people trying to outsmart the Chancellor or something?
Well, it's likely a combination of factors.
Okay.
The property market has been quite active,
Right.
which could be driving some of those gains.
Okay.
And then there's always the possibility that some people decided to sell before the October budget, just in case the government decides to raise the CGT rate.
Ooh, bit of a gamble there.
It is a bit of a gamble, yeah, betting on what the Chancellor might do.
Betting on what the Chancellor might do.
Exactly. And this potential for a CGT rate hike in the upcoming budget,
Yeah.
something to keep a close eye on,
Okay.
especially if you're considering selling any assets in the near future.
Noted.
Yeah.
This is where things get really interesting, I think, for anyone with investments.
Good.
Speaking of the future, there's been talk about this whole e-invoicing initiative.
Yeah.
Can you break that down for us a little bit?
Of course, yeah.
What is that all about?
So the Chancellor announced plans to encourage wider adoption of e-invoicing, weaving away from paper invoices.
So more than just like emailing a PDF.
Exactly. It's about a standardized digital format that allows for systems to talk to each other.
Interesting.
So imagine your accounting software
Yeah.
directly communicating with HMRC systems.
So it's about automating that whole process.
Exactly.
And making things like smoother and less prone to those annoying errors and things.
Precisely, yeah.
Interesting.
And while it might seem daunting,
Yeah.
especially for smaller businesses, HMRC is launching a consultation on this very topic,
Okay.
giving businesses a chance to voice their opinions and prepare for this digital shift.
So it's all about adapting
Absolutely.
to this like ever-evolving tax landscape.
Exactly, yeah.
And speaking of adaptation, let's talk about a topic that's been, well, politically charged for a while now.
Right.
VAT on private school fees. Now that Labor's in power, this debate is back in the spotlight, isn't it?
It is. It's been a point of contention for quite some time.
Yeah.
Labor has long argued that exempting private school fees from VAT is unfair
Okay.
and that it creates a loophole.
Mm-hmm.
But then, on the other hand, opponents believe that adding VAT would make private education less accessible
Okay.
without necessarily generating significant revenue.
So it's a balancing act
It is.
between like generating that revenue
Yeah.
and potentially impacting, the accessibility of private education.
Exactly.
This is where the political and the economic really like collide.
Precisely. And with Labor's clear stance on addressing social inequalities through the tax system.
Okay.
This is definitely a development to watch closely.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how this unfolds.
For sure.
Now, before we move on to HMRC's history
Okay.
and some of their internal challenges, let's pause for a moment and consider. We've been talking about HMRC getting tougher on things like R&D relief and these potential CGT changes.
Right.
But it makes you wonder.
Yeah.
Haven't there been times when HMRC itself was under scrutiny?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
What about that period where they were accused of being too aggressive with taxpayers?
That's right. There was definitely a time when HMRC faced a lot of criticism for their approach to tax collection.
Yeah.
There were concerns about fairness, transparency, even accusations of HMRC misusing its powers.
Wow.
Particularly concerning R&D claims, actually.
Interesting. So a bit of a reputational wobble for HMRC.
You could say that.
What prompted them to kind of change their tune?
Well, public pressure played a big part, I think.
Okay.
And parliamentary scrutiny as well.
Right.
There was a growing sense that, there needed to be a balance between enforcement and taxpayer rights.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So what did HMRC do to address those concerns?
They initiated a series of reforms aimed at, rebuilding trust with taxpayers.
Okay.
And this involved improving communication.
Okay.
Increasing transparency around their decisions.
Sure.
And importantly, offering better support and guidance to taxpayers.
So it sounds like quite a shift.
It was.
From enforcer to a more supportive role.
Yeah, you could say that.
But with these big organizations, changing direction isn't always smooth sailing, is it?
Definitely not.
What kind of hurdles did they encounter along the way?
Well, one of the biggest challenges, and this is something they're still grappling with, is recruitment and retention of skilled staff.
Ah, the age-old struggle for talent.
Exactly.
Why has HMRC found it so difficult to attract and keep these skilled employees?
Well, competition from the private sector is definitely a factor.
Okay.
Especially accounting and consulting firms.
Right.
They can often offer more competitive salaries and benefits packages.
Right. Makes it tough to compete.
Exactly. Yeah. And the thing is, the tax landscape itself is changing so rapidly.
Okay.
With all these complex international regulations.
Right.
The rise of digital technologies.
Yeah.
HMRC needs people with highly specialized skills.
So they're feeling the pressure of the job market.
Oh, absolutely.
Just like everyone else.
Yeah.
And how has this staffing shortage affected their ability to actually operate effectively?
Well, there have been reports of delays.
Okay.
In processing tax returns.
Right.
Longer wait times for taxpayers seeking assistance.
Not good.
And some people even worry about HMRC's capacity to actually tackle tax avoidance and evasion effectively with a smaller workforce.
That is concerning.
It is a concern, yeah.
Especially given, those high-profile R&D raids. It seems, I don't know, counterintuitive to crack down on this potential fraud while potentially, lacking the manpower to actually address it fully.
It highlights the challenges of managing a large and complex organization like HMRC. They're trying to adapt and they're trying to improve.
Right.
But resource limitations are a real challenge for them.
It begs the question, what can taxpayers like ourselves realistically expect in terms of service and support going forward, given these challenges?
It's a good question.
But let's hold that thought for a moment.
Okay.
And shift gears back to the issue of tax avoidance.
Yes.
Because it feels like this never-ending game of cat and mouse.
Absolutely.
With businesses and wealthy individuals finding increasingly creative ways to, minimize their tax bills.
Creative is one word for it.
Right.
Yeah.
Have there been any, notable examples of this that come to mind?
Well, one that springs to mind is the case of employee benefit trusts.
Okay.
Or EBTs.
EBTs, okay.
These were particularly popular among high earners.
Right.
Who would channel their income through these trusts.
Okay.
To basically sidestep income tax and national insurance.
So redirecting income to be taxed less favorably elsewhere? Classic.
Exactly, yeah. It's a common tactic.
Yeah.
But HMRC argued that these EBTs were, artificially constructed solely for tax avoidance, and they challenged their use.
Okay.
And after years of litigation,
wow,
they actually secured a landmark victory in the Supreme Court, effectively shutting down this particular scheme.
If that's a major win for HMRC, I bet that sent shockwaves.
Oh, absolutely.
In those circles.
Yeah.
But more importantly, what does a win like that actually mean for everyday taxpayers?
Well, I think it reinforces HMRC's commitment to ensuring fairness in the tax system.
Okay.
While complex schemes might exist.
Right.
This victory shows that HMRC is willing to fight to challenge them and recoup those unpaid taxes. Yeah. Which ultimately benefits everyone who's playing by the rules.
It's reassuring to know that they're actively working to level the playing field.
They are, yeah.
Now, speaking of leveling the playing field, let's talk about making tax digital.
Okay.
This initiative seems like a pretty big deal.
It is a big deal.
Wouldn't you say?
It's a fundamental change in how businesses interact with HMRC.
Right.
It's about moving to a fully digital tax system.
So say goodbye to those shoeboxes overflowing with receipts.
That's the idea, yeah.
Wow.
So MTD requires businesses to keep digital records of their income and expenses.
Okay.
And to submit VAT returns using compatible software.
Sounds like a massive change, especially for smaller businesses.
It has been a big adjustment.
Yeah.
But HMRC does offer guidance and support to help businesses adapt.
Okay.
And there are also, plenty of software providers out there offering quite affordable solutions.
So it's about embracing technology to simplify things and make it easier for everyone to stay compliant.
Exactly. It's about making the tax system more streamlined, more efficient, and fairer for everyone involved.
It's interesting how technology is reshaping our interactions with something as fundamental as taxes.
Absolutely.
But speaking of fundamental shifts, let's revisit this VAT debate. On private school fees, Labor's victories obviously brought this back into the spotlight.
Yeah.
But there's bound to be pushback against this proposal.
Oh, there will be, yeah.
What are the main arguments against it?
Well, one key concern is affordability.
Okay.
Adding VAT to private school fees could make it more difficult for some families to afford it.
Yeah.
And that could lead to, students being withdrawn and then a greater strain on the state-funded system.
So like a ripple effect.
Exactly. A ripple effect on the entire system.
Wow.
Additionally, there's an argument that private schools, they contribute to the overall diversity and quality of education in the UK.
Okay.
And imposing VAT could harm the sector.
It's a complicated issue.
It is, yeah.
With potential consequences that need to be,
They need to be considered carefully.
Carefully considered.
Absolutely.
But it strikes me that this debate, along with everything else that we've discussed today, highlights the, delicate balance that needs to be struck within the tax system.
It's a constant balancing act.
Right.
Yeah.
And speaking of challenges, let's turn our attention to HMRC's future.
Okay.
We've talked about some of the challenges that HMRC faces, from those staffing shortages to staying ahead of increasingly sophisticated tax avoidance schemes.
Right.
But what about the future?
Okay.
What lies ahead for HMRC in this ever-changing landscape?
Well, one thing's for sure, they can't afford to stand still.
Right.
The tax landscape, as we've said, is constantly evolving, and they need to evolve with it.
Right.
And as we touched upon, attracting and retaining those skilled employees is going to be a major hurdle.
Especially with that competition from the private sector.
It's fierce.
Yeah. So how can HMRC compete? How can they attract the best and the brightest?
Well, they're exploring different strategies.
Okay.
Things like offering more flexible work arrangements.
Right.
Investing in employee development programs.
Okay.
Trying to create a more attractive and rewarding work environment.
Yeah.
Streamlining their recruitment processes.
Makes sense.
So they seem more attractive to a wider pool of talent.
So it's about more than just, offering a paycheck.
Absolutely.
It's about fostering a culture that people actually want to be a part of.
Exactly, yeah.
But beyond that battle for talent, what other kind of big picture challenges do you think are on HMRC's radar right now?
I think keeping pace with technological advancements is a big one.
Right.
As businesses and individuals become more tech savvy, HMRC really needs to make sure that their systems and capabilities are up to par.
Yeah, it does feel like this constant race to keep up with the latest tech.
It does.
They've made progress with making tax digital.
They have, yeah.
But what do you think is next on that digital front?
Well, they're investing heavily in data analytics.
Yeah.
Artificial intelligence.
Right.
All these cutting-edge technologies.
Right.
To enhance their ability to detect fraud.
Okay.
Improve compliance, and provide more efficient services to taxpayers.
But it's like an ongoing evolution, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
You can't just rest on your laurels.
No, you need to be agile, you need to be adaptable to keep pace with this constantly changing landscape.
So staying ahead of the curve is absolutely crucial.
Crucial.
But it's not all about just playing catch up, is it?
No, not at all.
What opportunities do you think the future holds for HMRC?
I think there's a real opportunity to leverage technology to make the tax system simpler.
Okay.
And more user-friendly.
Right.
Imagine a future where filing your tax return is as straightforward as online banking.
Now that's a future I can get behind.
Right.
No more wrestling with those complex forms.
Exactly.
Deciphering all that tax jargon.
It would benefit everyone, wouldn't it?
A simpler system benefits everyone.
Absolutely. Less confusion, less frustration.
Right.
Fewer costly mistakes.
And for HMRC, it would free up their resources to focus on,
exactly,
the more important complex issues.
Like tackling tax avoidance.
Right.
Ensuring a level playing field.
Yeah, it's a win-win.
It is a win-win, absolutely.
A simpler, fairer, more efficient tax system.
That's the dream.
It sounds almost utopian.
It does, doesn't it? It's an ambitious goal.
It is.
But it's one worth striving for.
For sure.
And I think ultimately HMRC's success hinges on building trust and collaboration with taxpayers.
So moving away from this adversarial us versus them.
Yeah, us versus them dynamic.
And towards a more collaborative approach.
Exactly. When HMRC and taxpayers work together, we can create a tax system that's fair, sustainable, and benefits everyone.
Well said. It seems we've reached the end of our deep dive.
It has been a journey.
Into the world of HMRC.
It has.
Hopefully we've shed some light on the inner workings of this essential organization.
I hope so.
And given you a little glimpse into its future.
The future of tax.
The future of tax.
Always changing.
And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this journey.
Yes, thank you.
Remember, knowledge is power.
Absolutely.
Especially when it comes to navigating the complex world of taxes.
It really is.
Until next time, stay curious.
Stay informed.